Welcome back to another episode of the Simple Performance Podcast. Today we have Hunter Krein on the podcast. Hunter is a strength coach with over a decade of coaching experience. He has his bachelor's degree in kinesiology from Penn State and his master's in sports science from Hofstra University. He's also the founder of Kettlebell Coach University, an online certification program where he coaches and mentors hundreds of coaches around the world. And I'm actually going to one of his seminars in New York City in March, so I'm super excited for that, to meet him in person. Hunter, how's it going, man?
Damn, that sounded good when you said it like that. It's going well, man. I appreciate being here. But dude, it's good to finally put a face to a name, and I'm excited to see you in New York, man. So I'm excited to chat with you here today too.
It's going to be good, man. It's my first time in New York City, so we'll see you getting around the city and everything. Yeah,
Let's go, man.
it'll be good. Yeah, I first saw you speak in a official capacity at the Compound Performance Summit, and that talk was awesome. I took a lot of notes. I really enjoyed that. And I think we kind of started talking DMs a little bit there. We've got a lot of mutual connections, and I've had some people that I think we both know on the podcast, so I'm pretty excited to talk, man.
Let's do it, man. I'm in.
So to give people, listeners that don't know you a little bit of background, I want to touch on that first a little bit. So going back, kind of way back, what year did you first get into fitness, and what would you say sparked that interest in the fitness industry?
All right, so let me paint the picture for you, bro. At age of 14, I was probably like 185 pounds, and I was going to this new high school, and the football coach wanted me to play football there. I didn't want to play football because I was a lazy ass kid, and I was like kind of resistant to it. So he just knew like if he got me in the weight room that I might enjoy it, and so I went to the weight room. It was this rusty ass weight room at the DYC, Dalton, Massachusetts. And there was a board with like all of our lifts up there. I remember that specifically. And dude, I was big enough when I touched the bar, like it went up. So at 14 years old, I could deadlift like 405, box squat, like 315. So I had farm boy strength. I grew up on a farm. So I took to it. And I started just consuming everything, bro, like muscle and fitness, Team Nation. I followed bodybuilders specifically. So it was like, all right, like this bodybuilding split. And I go right to the gym and fucking do the bodybuilding split, you know? And so I started to learn that way. And that's what gave me, a deep love for it. But I would say also, like, it was when I started, man, like I was this chubby kid that my body started to transform. And the kids that would maybe make fun of me when I first got to that school are now like, oh shit. And that was a powerful moment. You know what I mean? It was like, that's the moment we all come for, you know? So that was my moment.
Yeah, that's huge. I've spoken to a few different coaches that are local here that worked with Naval Special Warfare, and they worked in college before, and they both talked about getting back to sport. And one of them even went to Texas to be a strength coach at a high school because he talked about how important that age is for athletes, and he really wanted to have that impact. So it was really cool to see somebody that's been at the collegiate level and at kind of the special operations level go back in and coach high school kids and create that that love for sport that kind of goes the rest of their life. So it's really cool to hear that's been part of your
Well,
story.
that's what I'm doing now. So I told you I was in Alexandria during the pandemic, and dude, during the pandemic, I was training kids with kettlebells and hurdles under a bridge. So when their friends were like, school was out, they're like on computers, bro. We were pumping iron under a bridge, and I loved it. And then when I moved to LA, I was like, now I'm online. The business started becoming successful in that space, but I had to pull away from like actually being in person with kids. And I was like, how do I get back? So long story short, I just got this opportunity with my wife to be a co-strength coach at a school in the area. It's called Campbell Hall. They don't have a strength and conditioning program. And they hit me up and were like, hey, will you build this? So we're just getting back in there. And when you get back in there, and the kids now are a different generation. Like they're special in their own right. And we were different than our parents' generation. So you're trying to figure out like, okay, how do I relate? You know, so they want to do the shit I tell them to do. But yeah, I love it, man. And so that's what I'm doing now. It's kind of like a full circle kind of situation.
That's cool, man. Yeah, this is a kind of a tangent, but anecdotally, when I was an athlete, I saw a lot of kids who got pushed really hard and then burnt out, like kids that could have gone, a few kids that had D1 offers that just like joined the military, did something else because they burnt out. So when it comes to coaching these kids, like I have a young son myself now, so I think about these things. How do you think about cultivating that love for exercise and sport and pushing them, but not so hard that they begin to despise the thing that, you want them to love?
It's a very, dude, like, congratulations on having a kid too, man. That's a whole nother journey. But yeah, well, this is what I kick around in my head. It's the fine line between you need discomfort to develop the qualities of work ethic and determination and perseverance. But when does the discomfort become just downright hazing? Like the coaches I had as a kid, bro, like, yeah, that shit would be illegal nowadays. So, but for the most part, what I find is like, you got to let them take the lead, which is like, we want to impose our will, but it's like, dude, if you set up the environment, they're going to want to do it. If they see you doing it, they see it modeled, the result, you just got to let them do it and want to do it. Now, some take longer than others, et cetera, but that's my experience and understanding coaching,
Mhm. Yeah, that's really cool, man. So it sounds like you had pretty good background in traditional strength training.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got KBCU now. So when did you first get really interested in kettlebells versus some of the traditional barbell type work?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I would tell you like this, like if I transport you to ages like, I don't know, 21 to 26, like I would walk into a gym and I would just be like, see what everybody's lifting. And I'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna be stronger than you. like it was, just traditional ego. That's what it was. And I was strong as fuck. So it was cool. I could squat and deadlift a house. And like that's what the situation was. But around that time in my life, though, my demographics switched. After when I was at Hofstra, I started training in the city as a personal trainer. So I wasn't training athletes anymore. I was training that like 50 to 70-year-old demo. And you realize like, oh, they just want to feel good in life. There's specific qualities and things they need in order to be a human being. Okay, what are those? Strength is an important piece. Yes, it's the foundation, but like strength looks different, so it really came down to when I was introduced to my mentor, Darius Gilbert in Alexandria, and he pioneered a system which nobody had done before. And he had stolen parts from like Cal Dietz and like West Side and like Verkhoshansky, like different principles he melded into like, we're going to, in RKC, we're going to use the kettlebell, we're going to use hurdles, we're going to use med balls, we're going to turn these kids into weapons. And so when I went down to be mentored by him, one of the first drills was like, take a jump rope and jump rope on one foot. And, like you can press the 106, pistol it, deadlift, X, Y, and Z. But when it hits you that, oh, there's other qualities, then there was like a Pandora's box opened of like, oh, what don't I know? And it turns out that everybody, what they don't know is the stuff they don't want to do. So if you're not fast, you're not going to go to a sprinting expert and be like, hey, teach me how to sprint. If you're strong, you're going to go and you're going to be like, teach me how to be strong. So it's just like learning what you suck at. And that's what I decided to do. And then so many other doors were opened. And now my perspective of human performance goes from here to like, oh, shit.
Mhm.
So that's when I was like, okay. And then I still use barbells, I still use dumbbells, I still use kettlebells. But the question becomes, who do you train? What do they have available to them? And what will they do when you're not with them? So kettlebells to me check a lot of boxes because I've trained people 8 years old to 98, not 98, that's an exaggeration, 88, we'll call it. A huge gap with one tool. You can do it anywhere, meaning I could make the same amount of money if I had a huge elaborate facility or in a fucking soccer field somewhere. It's pandemic proof, and I can get all of the qualities that I need with another implement with one. So that's why the kettlebell and why I went in that direction. But there's so many great training tools. The question is, how do you use them? And does the person do it consistently? And does it become a real behavior of theirs? Or is it just a behavior of theirs when they're with you? So that's how I think about it.
Yeah, I think kettlebells check a lot of those boxes, especially being post-pandemic, going through that, realizing that some people don't have a lot of space. You can do a lot with a small area of kettlebells in your house or in your garage or outside. versus bumper plates, barbell, squat rack, having to have all that stuff is A, very expensive, and B, takes up a ton of space that some people just don't have. So it
Yeah.
makes sense to me.
I agree with you. And then I would also just drive home the point that, okay, looking at early on, you look at it from a training trade-off, like barbell, kettlebell. When you realize that what really gets results is extended repetition over a period of time, then you simplify down to what would this person want to do for a long period of time and can they do? And you just whittle it down to that based on those two questions. So I think we get lost all the time trying to compare apples to apples, but it's not really apples to apples. If the person will do it for a week, gets excited about the cool new shit you showed them, they can't do it on their own. And then the new shit gets newer the next week. And then that's when you see this. So yes, what you said is correct. Space matters, equipment availability matters, but stick with whatever you pick for a long time, you know?
Mm.
So
Yeah, what's the saying? Pick 10 exercises and do them for a decade, and that's how you get strong and big and strong.
yeah.
You talked about that in the summit too. You talked about the importance of buy-in and doing things that people, choosing things that people will be able to stick with.
Yeah.
Versus just giving them the coolest new optimization that, again, they're excited for 3 days and then they never touch again.
Yeah. So what you said is correct. But what makes me different is that you have 10 big rocks, and then I got 10 variations of every big rock. So my training system looks so elaborate and is fun repeatably because you don't understand that the variation you're doing is really just feeding back to a big rock. And as you get more experience, you realize, okay, what are my big rocks? Let's keep them shits the same. And then we just pick variety that's feeding that big rock. That variety is good. Bad variety is, I don't know what the fuck my big rocks are. And I'm just going to change things in and out all the time because of what I see online or because I think my client's bored. That's another one. Do you know your client's actually bored, or are you fucking bored? I forget where I heard that recently, but that is a good one. I check myself on all the time. I'm just probably bored. So, you know.
Yeah, it's a good one. I guess a simple way to think about that would be a squat pattern. You can do so many different things with a squat pattern, back squat, front squat, high bar, low bar, goblet squat with, like, say, a kettlebell. And that's all what I would, is that kind of what you're talking about when it comes to big rocks and then variations?
Yeah. And so what you just illustrated is what I would say is one bucket within the big rock. So the squat pattern, you just illustrated the strength patterns. Now I have a body weight explosive pattern. I got deep tier squats. I got squat jumps. I got loaded squat jumps. I got single leg squat jumps. Okay, then we got that. Then we're like, okay, what's the speed strength? Now we got a push press with 2 kettlebells. Now we got a squat clean. Now we got a hang clean, etc. So you have the big rock. The big rock there are different things that you're surfing the curve with, and then all of a sudden, holy fuck, this all makes sense. You know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's cool, man. That sounds fun. I want to take a step back and kind of address something you said in the summit. You stated if you have a body, you're an athlete. That really resonated with me. People listening, some people might, they might do marathons or something, really think of themselves as athletes, and others might just think of themselves as somebody with a day job and they work out to stay healthy and that's it. So I'd like to kind of expand on that. So can you, I guess, give your thoughts initially of the statement, if you have a body, you're an athlete?
you see me shaking my head because I love talking about this shit. So I appreciate the question. Yeah, so this is one that I haven't explained that well before, and I don't think many people do, because what happens is when people hear the word athlete, they attach a vision of something. And if they don't have high self-confidence or high vision or high like their ceiling for themselves is not very high, they get scared of that word. And so that's where the rub is, and people are like, well, I'm not an athlete. So, okay, let me break it down. So the way I look at it and the way that it is in my head is you have sprinting on one side of the spectrum, you have walking on the other side of the spectrum. Sprinting is just walking as fast as you can. Okay, because you just decided to run in the bridge, right? So in the middle you have like jogging, and then in other parts of the spectrum there's different speeds. you need the same qualities. If we want to break it down, you need thoracic rotation, you need single leg strength, you need elasticity, you need these things in order to do both activities. Training like an athlete means that I want to prepare you, if I can, for the high end of that spectrum every time. Why? If I prepare you for the high end of the spectrum, you're going to have the most preparedness possible. Most people on a lot of spectrums are somewhere in the middle, and all we're trying to do is just ratchet it like another percent over. But that's the idea. That's why the system exists. So what does that look like? Well, people are like, you can't have a 70-year-old dude jumping jacks because they're going to get hurt. I'm like, they're going to get hurt because they can't do fucking jumping jacks. You want to hear a story? So yesterday, crazy shit. We're backing out to go to the bike path near our house to go for a walk. Look in my rearview mirror, about 30, 40 yards behind us, in a puddle is an old couple fallen over with a guy standing next to them, hasn't helped them up yet. I jump out the car, sprint over, help the woman up. Her eyes busted open. She's bleeding. Her husband's disheveled and like, what the fuck? They couldn't get up. So for me, like I just proved my point. I lived it yesterday, which means if you don't have the competencies, the qualities to be resilient at an older age, oh, the world's going to fuck you up just like that. So that's why we train people on any age spectrum or quality spectrum so that they have the utmost resilience. And it's scary because I say to a 70-year-old, yeah, we're going to do jumping jacks. They look at you like, and you just got to like let them look over the edge and do it. And that's hard as a coach, man. Cause you're like, are they going to get hurt? I don't know. I've done it so many times. I know when not to, and I know when to. And it's up to you to learn how to do that as a coach through experience.
What age do you think people start to think about the future? Because if I told a 20-year-old you need to strength train for when you're 70, the likelihood that they buy into that is probably pretty low. So what age do you think people start to really think about, oh, this is going to be important when I'm older?
So the people that work with me, that's just a tone in my voice. So I speak to them in that way. Like even these 14-year-old kids, bro, at this high school, I'm like, do you know the percentage of kids that are going to go play Division I sports here? Probably like 3%. So, okay, if you're not going to play Division I sports and you're playing athletics, why are you doing it? Well, you're doing it to develop experiences of teamwork and all this stuff. You want to prepare your body. You want to have qualities for later on down the road. But I'm also teaching you skills that you need to repeat for the rest of your life. So I think it comes from the branding and the message of the person. If you speak like that, your clients will start to get it. And if somebody doesn't buy in, then they're not right for me. You know, it's like if you're just here to build a six pack, you're going to get a six pack in life lessons, or you can just have somebody tell you they're going to get you a six pack. We all know what's going to be more impactful for the long haul, you know? So that's why I know that what I talk about is true. Why do I know it? Because I try to poke holes in everything I fucking think every day. So it's like, I don't sit here like, oh, I think I know the answer. Most of the time it's like, oh shit, I was wrong. You know, let me go learn something else and replace it. And that's what I've come to about sustainability. The sooner you start thinking about, okay, let's do the calculation. I think I'm going to work out 5 times a week. Okay. How many years are you going to live? Well, I'm 31. So I'm thinking, we'll call it 85, but hopefully I live longer. There's 50 years, 50 plus years of 250 workouts a year. So what does that tell us? Well, you can't go in high intensity every day. You have to have recovery and adaptation and understanding. And some seasons you're going to push it. Some seasons you're going to back off. Sometimes you're going to go for big goals. You may be sedentary other times. But if you do it consistently, we're going to get there. And that's how I communicate to people, dude. I just think it comes through the messaging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely makes sense. When we talk about kind of getting people to buy in, one of the things I really liked about your talk at the summit was the forces that everyday people encounter can sometimes be as high or higher than competitive athletes. Some of the things I wrote down from the summit was preventing a slip and fall could be 2 to 4 times your body weight, depending on how that happens. If you have to run after a kid, which is very close to home now, because my son is at the age where he would run into traffic if he was outside by himself, that could be 2 to 3 times body weight. Jumping and landing 2.5 times body weight, landing 3.5 to 4 times body weight. So could you give some context to these numbers for people that are like, that's cool, but I don't really know what that means?
Okay. Yeah. Let me break it down for you. So one time I was reading this book and it was like a black and white picture figurine. It may have even been a photo, but it doesn't matter that much. It's a photo of a woman running from the back. And you see like the single leg stance, she's on one leg, and then right next to it, she's on one leg with a barbell on her back that has her body weight on it. And it says, this is what you're actually experiencing versus what you think you're experiencing. So I was like, okay, that's an interesting diagram. And what you realize is like they're phantom forces. When you walk fast or you jog, you think it's not actually strength training because you can't conceptualize strength training of being anything other than bar on back. But when you're out there, why it's more force is because your foot's coming off the ground and it's explosively reacting with the ground. And there's a lot more force and elastic reaction, like tendon storage and release, than there is generated from the muscle alone and the connective tissue alone. So yeah, that's what it is like, if you have to go in your daily life, you never know when something's going to come up. New York City, you're running for a cab. In your brand new dad life, you're running after a kid going somewhere that you can't get to, when they're that age. Hiking is high force because it's inclined. Going down from a hike, usually people get hurt because they have to eccentrically load their quads and their knees. There's forces there. So it's like, you're going to encounter these things. Pickleball. Like I did a whole presentation on just pickleball and how people aren't training for the game, but then they're changing direction, sprinting forward, backward, side to side, and they're wondering why injury rates are high because you're preparing with fucking yoga. You know what I mean? Like you need to be doing pogos and you need to be doing depth drops and you need to do change of direction drills. There's a disconnect. People don't fucking get it. It's like, in social media makes it worse. It's like, yeah, do this exercise to get better. It's like, dude, we're not even talking about the same game. You know what I mean, Justin? And it's like, the only reason I know this is because I've been fortunate to be around. It's not all my proprietary thought. Like I've been mentored by giants, dude, who have decades of experience. Like I didn't learn with a blue check on Instagram. I went to their house or I paid them money to be mentored or I moved my whole life to go live with Darius. Like, so when you go to the ones that have decades, they're all pretty calm. They don't get super high or low. They know the human body is super complex and factors in our life are super complex. They know that forces are higher than we think and we need to be prepared in a lot of different ways. And that's how they do it,
Yeah, you spoke about 3 different types of athletes that you bucket people into. You've got kind of competitive athletes, adult athletes, and aging athletes. Yeah. So it sounds like your initial foray into kind of the more lifestyle training was a little bit of the adult into potential aging athletes, and now you're getting back to some of the younger athletes. But could you give an overview for people of these 3 buckets that you kind of went over and how you think about the different stages of an athlete's lifespan?
Yeah, I can. And what I'm going to say may hurt some people's feelings. So the reality is, like, if you look at somebody's lifespan and we say they're going to live 85 years, I come to 85 because I feel like if you like the average lifespan is probably 70, 71 for like human beings. But if you're like a fit, healthy human being, I think 85 should be like easy money. You know what I mean? So we're just going to use that. So if you're 85 and let's come down in the percentage of time. Let's say you're LeBron James. So he's going to have half of his life as an athlete. And he's the pinnacle competitor, 22 years in the league. He's a huge outlier. Half of his life he'll be an athlete. So then we take some person who has a usual pro career, 3 years, excuse me. Okay, so a fourth of their life is an athlete. And then we take a high school athlete and it's something else. Then we take somebody who doesn't play sports at all and is a human being their whole life 100% of the time. So what I'm trying to get people to realize, and for youth athletes, dude, the window where you really get to do like intense, crazy shit with an athlete is like 14 or 15 to like up until their prime, or let's say 14 to 18 if they're in high school. If they have a good base, they're going to actually lift some heavy shit. That's like 4 years in the low end, and in the high end, if you're LeBron, 22 years in the league, high school, okay, 25 years, he's training hard. we need to look at it like this, meaning preparatory needs to be, oh, this needs to be sustainable over the long haul. We don't need to rush it fast. We need to just get good foundations in, let them take to what they like, slowly get it in here, give them good behaviors, etc. They can train hard for that period of time if they want. Then it's like, okay, your athletic career is done. Now we just need to be an athletic human and keep the shape we were in, but there's no competition anymore. So that's how I look at it. That's how preparation for a lifetime is. I think we get way too hyped on the moment of like, we're going to go into this training block right now and kill it. It's like, bro, it probably doesn't matter. Like it does. You do need to train hard for blocks. I shouldn't say it doesn't matter at all, but it probably doesn't matter as much as you're hyping it up to matter. Go train hard, then rest. Get ready to do this for 50 more years.
Yeah. What about the person that says that lifting heavy weights might not be good for me long term, might break my body down, my knees, my hips, whatever? Obviously, I know what you think about this, and you probably know what I think about this, but it is still something that I hear more often than I would think I would at this point.
Yeah. This just comes down to dumb shit people say to other people. So, like, there was a study that I quote all the time. It's a premenopausal study with women. And one group is 20 women. One group does 3 sets of jumps a day. The other group does nothing. And they find that the bone mineral density in the ones that do the 3 sets of jumps a day went up. So what does that tell us? That punctures holes in the argument immediately that that jumping and plyometric activity and heavy strength breaks tissue down. It in fact causes it to remodel from a factual basis. Now, if your doctor factually tells you, hey, don't jump, he's doing a smart thing because he's saying, you're flared up. You probably can't handle large loads of activity right now. But the key word is right now. And we've assigned all of these dangerous tags to things that are actually beneficial. So people don't know right from left, from up, from down. And you know what the result of that fucking shit is? I don't even know if I can cuss on this, but I'm gonna.
You're good.
The result of that, dude, is inaction. There's so much information. I'm not going to do shit. That's why those 2 old people fell ass over elbows into a puddle yesterday. I'm glad they're okay. If they weren't okay, I wouldn't joke about it. But that's why it happened. It's like, I went in their house afterwards. I live right next to them. They got hurt in the beginning of their walk. What does that tell you? They don't have much capacity. They probably do not move. And so that can't be me, and that can't be the people that I work with. You know what I mean? You got to be able to get off the ground if you do fall, and let's get some work capacity so you can go for a long time. Accidents happen, but strong people get hurt less, even if they fall, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about this. I came from a different background. I was a runner in middle school, high school, and then got into strength training more seriously after that. I still lifted then, but much more seriously after that. And so when I think about aging healthfully, I think a lot about metabolic health, the top 10 causes of death. You've got Alzheimer's, type 2 diabetes. You've got, that's not in any order, but a lot of metabolic diseases that are going to potentially prevent people from reaching the age where, they're 70, 80. Do you think much about the kind of the metabolic side of things, or are you thinking mainly about the strength, the rate of force development?
All right. So Justin, this is how much I care about knowledge. Last year, to learn more about the metabolic side, I signed up to do a marathon with a coach. So yeah, through that 16-week training cycle and running 26.2 miles at 230 pounds, I learned all about it. And what I would tell you is that there was many years where I didn't want to do conditioning in a traditional sense, like normal strength athletes. And I told you earlier, we don't like to do what we are not good at. And also, I think that the information is so bad in that space. Like, I think it's so confusing where people roll up talking about different heart rate zones and different data. And that stuff probably only matters for the top 1%. And the 99% need to just be told, yeah, you jog in this zone until you can talk. And when you can't talk, stop. So like all the information is just so hard for people to get around. So I try to simplify it, and this is how I think about it. So I know that the closest thing to a life insurance policy is getting 150 minutes of moderate aerobic activity a week. Some people would say 300. I think 300 is nuts, because if you think about how this shit fits into a normal human being schedule, 150 is a reach. So if I know that 150 is the gold standard, but I know my client won't do 100, and if I tell them if they don't do 100 that it's not good, then I'm losing. So I have to figure out how to build some. And in my life, 2 days are dedicated cardio days. Has to happen 2 days per week. In fact, I'm going to go run here in a minute. And those times, the closer I get to 60 minutes, the easier it is to get my goal. Do I want to do 60 minutes every day? No. But usually the minimum's 30. And if I'm feeling like, okay, I usually go 45. If I do that twice, then I have either 60, 90, 120 minutes. And then on a third day, I get the rest. And I think that the important piece to understand for the general listener out there, because this shit is so convoluted, it depends. Meaning somebody that doesn't walk and then all of a sudden starts walking, their heart rate response is going to be plenty to get that 150. But if you're fit and that walk only gets your heart rate to 80 or 90, it don't count. So you got to know essentially a little bit about your heart rates. You got to know a little bit about what counts, what don't count. And the last thing I'll tell you is Arnold's quote, just lift weights faster, is not true, because the response on the heart is different in loaded and unloaded scenarios. There's a study, I can't reference it. I do what I usually do in studies, which is read the abstract. I'm not one of the guys that's like, good. I'm just not that guy. Tell me what it was about. I'm probably already doing it. That's how I kind of look at it.
Mm.
And so I think that's the important thing about conditioning, but it really matters. Takeaway, it really, really matters. You got to figure out what you can get. Behavior change is slow. So you can't try to go from 0 minutes to 100. You got to, like, a win is now 10. A win is now 20. And know your heart rates. Maybe sign up for a race, get a coach, look at a polar, and like actually learn. And that's how I did last year.
Yeah, it's super cool, man. How was running that marathon at that body weight?
Horrible. I shouldn't say horrible. Like, dude, I should just tell you that I don't think I've ever gone for a run until recently. So, okay, so I'll let you into my mind a little bit. I'm competitive, dude. So if I go to a run club, Venice Run Club, there's 300 people there. I'm going to pick somebody to try to hang with. And that's just my behavior, you know? So like, I'll find myself at 8:15 hanging with this motherfucker. And I know that 9:30 is where I need to be. And my ego's like, keep going, dog. I got Jay-Z in the headphones. I'm just, you know. So what I should tell you is, like, I had to learn early on about ego, that heart rate doesn't care, and how to calm myself down. Because in the beginning, dude, I don't think I ever went on a run where I was like, oh, this is comfortable. Like, my shin hurts, my knee hurts, my hip hurts. This sucks. And then after a mile, it's like, okay, I guess I'm doing this, you know? And actually physically running it, the training was hard. Training's hard. Actually running it, I think I did a really good job of staying in that 9:30 because I had hit the wall before and I didn't want to do it again. Mile 13, I was like, how am I going to do this? Mile 17, I got some water and I felt like a fucking champion running into Beverly Hills. Mile 20, my videographer was there, so I fucking let out a like, you know, like this kind of situation, felt my energy go down. Fucking mile 22, straight uphill on Sepulveda, mile 22 to 26. Like, there was time I would literally be like, my legs would stop working. I would like bend over and I would just start laughing because of like, I literally, like, I've never been in a situation where I'm trying to run, but the legs won't work, you know? So, yeah.
I love that. That's fun. I work with a good amount of people that run marathons. So I was just interested in how that went for you. Because, yeah, even when I ran cross country, I did lift at the time and I was 170 at my lightest, and I was still like way bigger than the guys that were out there. You know, you had these 120-pound high school kids that were way fast. I have some of them pass me on the trails now, and I'm just like, well, they have to be that small their whole life. They only passed me once, so.
Well, I think it's like anything else, dude. I think what you get reps at, you get good at. And so I got reps at strength. You know, kids who ran cross country in, you know, young ages and ran, like their mitochondria and their metabolic health is going to be a little bit different, dude. Their VO2 max is a little different. But see me in the weight room, you know? Is so I think now the question is, this is the overarching question in my philosophy, which is that, and I think this is a life philosophy I've applied to training. And Stu from Altus, we were at Exos, and he put this picture up on the screen, and I use it in my presentations. But basically, it's a circle in the middle, and then all of these things coming off, and there's little other things that have branches off of them. And the slide's titled "Complex Systems." And what I mean by that is like the human is very complex. Like you have your training, your nutrition, your social connections, your business, your finance, your relationship, your kids, etc. And these things are all bifurcated and they're in motion because your life is always changing. So how I think about training is like, yeah, we're all this collage of qualities that we've developed through repetitions or activities. And ultimately, we're good at some, others we're not good at. And so then what's the approach? Well, my approach is I'm never really trying to get things to be a 10. We want to highlight the 10s, but then we want to identify the 4s. And we want to make the 4s 7s. Over months, years, time. It takes time. But as we start to make those get better, the whole system optimizes for itself. Because you can't have great strength without great recovery, and you can't have great power without great strength, and you can't really run fast without mobility. And like, so they all work together to create the package. That's my approach for human development.
I love that. I love that. That's huge. So we've kind of touched on a lot of things now. How would you distill this down for somebody who's like, oh, I'm on board, I get this. What do I do now? Like, how do I get started?
Yeah, like, so this is what I would just drop on you real quick, which I've been learning. So I just did this course at Harvard in wellness and behavior change coach. And we learned about the cycles of behavior change in that course. And it resonated with me because if you're a coach, you know that people are at different points in their journey. So when you're a young coach, you are just hyped to help everybody do everything. And then one time your hype doesn't work and they don't get where they want to go and your result doesn't come to fruition. Maybe you lose the client, etc. And you go, holy shit, maybe it's not all about excitement. And over time, like you still go in with that same wanting to help, but you're a little bit more reserved, right? And it's because you don't know where they are in their stage of change and if you can reach them or not. So what I'm about to say really matters. First, you have to figure out what stage you are in your life and what you want to change. So if you're listening, you know, why are you listening? Which means like, are you listening because you're a coach and you want to get better at your craft and, you know, whatever. Well, I can offer you a lot because I have a lot of failures and successes under my belt I've learned from, and I did it the hard way. I worked my ass off every single day to work and learn as much as I possibly can. If it's out there, I've probably done it because I love this shit that much. And so what I try to do is I give, you know, distill down, okay, what's the shit that didn't work? What's the important shit? Okay, how do we make decisions? How do we simplify? And when people have simplified information, you know what happens to confidence? Woo, goes through the roof because they're like, oh, I actually do know what I'm talking about. And I actually have these tools that I can use. And thanks for the new tools. And like, we just clear out the cobwebs of bullshit. That's number one. Number two, The only thing that is going to ensure that you have the resilience to deal with life how you want and take yours where you want to go is deep social connections. You cannot do it without people who are like-minded and support you genuinely. Okay, how do you build deep social connections? Well, you need to do hard shit with those people because everybody has social connections, right? But like, how much do you really trust that person? Like, if you were in a tough spot, would you call that person or would you not? And so for me, that's what KBCU offers for people, which is like, it's not like, I want to tell you, it's a really inclusive community, but not in the way that people view the word inclusive. We have set values, right? So if you're hardworking, you're humble, you want to get after it, you want to be coached, you want to cut out the bullshit, and you're like, look, I want to do this so I can architect my life and make a huge impact on people. Yeah, that's who's for us. And so you got to figure out if that's what you're looking for. If that's what you're looking for, then we have a 16-week course online. We have in-person events. Justin's coming to the one in New York. We have Camp Savage in Arkansas, which is a 3-day adult summer camp with learning, competitions, community. Basically, we have a 500-acre property that we're descending upon. So yeah, that's where we're going with it, man. It's really a place for people like me, who I really love to be around, who challenge me, dude. It's like, okay, you're telling me this is right. Why is it right? Well, you know how good of an educator you have to be or to know your shit when somebody tries to poke holes through it? It's like, I don't know why that was. Let me think about that, you know? So yeah, I just love it, man.
Yeah, I personally try to go to at least 2 seminars a year just because I always come back so rejuvenated, getting to meet new people. Even if you told me this was never going to result in any better business growth or coaching or anything like that, I would still do it just for the energy it gives me and the connections because I find at a lot of the seminars, at least the ones I go to, like they're just really good humans that I really connect with. And that always makes me just feel so much better about the world, about life, about myself. I get a lot of value from them. So you did jump ahead to a question I was going to ask that I
Let's
really
let's get clear about that real quick because
yeah,
I
let's
think
do it.
I think you said something that's powerful, which is what I think our differentiator is. If we're honest, if you go to a 2-day long seminar, right, you get a fire hose, open your mouth, here it comes, and you may get one or two things and you're going to get excited for the short term and you're going to use them, but you're going to forget a lot of shit. And also, there's no support after you leave those doors. So you meet great people, but then guess what? It's over. So I reverse engineered. What's a better experience? A better experience is if I come, I get to meet everybody there, get connected with them. We make this education so distilled down that you know exactly what it's for, how to use it. You can ask questions. You get to coach it yourself to other people in small groups. Then we come back together. Then we go break bread Saturday night. We get food somewhere, so we get to have real relationships in real connection, and that happens both days. It's CU certified through the two biggest organizations, and to me, that's like way less important. Like that's just like if you come for CUs, it's like, okay, the best course I've ever gone to, bro. Like everybody's gone to FMS and then FRC and then SFG and then USAW, and that we've all done it, right? So you all have that level of knowledge. You know what's next? Going to learn from the people that aren't just motivated by having as many fucking courses as possible and taking your money as much as possible. People that are actually about like, how can I become as good as I possibly can at coaching?
Hmm.
And that's what we're doing.
I love it, man. I was going to ask you about that community aspect. You've obviously put a lot of work into KBCU and all this stuff. You kind of explained a little bit about it, but how do you really create that community aspect, especially with some of the remote offerings, right? Because even while talking to you here on Zoom is awesome, it's probably pales in comparison to being face to face with you. So how do you think about that community aspect, especially with people kind of spread across the country?
Yeah, it's a good question. And to answer it, I would tell you this. When I first started it, I didn't know if it was possible. But then I realized when you spend time with anybody, okay, schedule is the biggest limiting factor. You couldn't spend 2 times a week with me for 16 weeks in person. Would not happen. And try to put something in your schedule twice a week that you have to go to, travel back and forth from. We know how hard that is, right?
Mm.
So actually find that online is better because we have consistency in our schedule. You can put that hour aside. You don't have to travel. You open it up, and the real community comes from the top down. So when you come into my community, I have a survey on you. My buddy Scotty was the head athletic trainer at the Atlanta Hawks for 10 years. Have the Atlanta Hawks survey. I know every surgery. I know everything that you've gone through. I know your story, where you want to go, etc. Then I have a one-on-one with you. So I get everything, get the full download, know exactly what you're looking for. Then I trained and hired coaches underneath me. So you're on a small team throughout the entire process. So guess what? Now you know your small group. You have meetings with them bi-weekly. So you're connected in that way. So the way we set it up, it's much better than just getting me. You got me, you got team leaders, you got them all in one thing. And I think we do it like nobody else, man. And the reason is because I became obsessed with learning as much as fucking humanly possible in the littlest amount of time. That's the goal. How do we do that?
Mm.
Yeah. And that's what we're trying to solve for.
Yeah, definitely. And I think especially for the in-person stuff, the practical application is big too, about being able to do the thing. Could you share with people that are interested in maybe some of your offerings but can't go in person, whether they don't have the money to travel or the ability to travel schedule-wise, what the virtual offerings you have are?
Oh, damn, Justin. I feel like you got to jump into this online situation because I feel like you've never seen what I'm talking about. Like, I'm explaining it to you, but you're like, no, but like in person, I'm going to get the application. But I'm like, it matters how you coach it. And that's what you get good at when you have 4 years of experience only doing that.
Mm.
Can't just do it. You wouldn't be able to do it unless you know how to position the screen, how to communicate, how to set it up, how to give them materials before and after, how to then have them coach it, how to have them demo it in front. That's what I think is important to get into the head about. Oh, shit. It's different. But the angle, there's actually more angles. So if you can't come in person, dude, the online is the best experience. And the reason is that think about 2 days, bro, and then think about 16 weeks. So you get me for 16 hours or you get me for 32 hours with workouts, with team support over a period of time.
Mm.
Who's learning more? If I got you for 2 days or for 16 weeks? It's like you went to a college course or you went to a luncheon. You know what I mean? And the luncheon's good because it gives you inspiration. But now do you know how to use the shit that you learned at the luncheon? The answer is probably not, because it takes a lot of application. And then, you know how you really learn, bro? When you apply, and then you get to ask the question.
Mm.
Oh, this didn't work because what should I have done different? You don't learn when you just apply. You don't know if it's a good rep or a bad rep because you're so new with it. But then you can call me and say, oh, okay, I just tried this. Is this right or wrong? Well, I would try it like this. Oh, do you see? That's learning. So
Yeah. And even spreading learning out over time just has been shown to cement learning, repetition. So I can definitely see the power of that. So yeah, is there anything else about KBCU that you want to share? Kind of the things you offer, things that you're really passionate about?
I'm passionate about a lot of things. But
I feel you there.
But I would tell you that my journey in this industry has not been easy, right? But I've put in enough work and enough time to now have unlocked some freedoms that I didn't know would be possible to be unlocked. And so when you get there and you're used to the grind every day of 5 a.m. wake ups and clients when you don't want them and back to back, no lunches, can't do this because I have to train, can't do this because I have to get my own workout. You then get the freedom and you go, wow, like all of this hard work paid off. The game's not over, but the workflow has to change, right? So what I'm passionate about is going, that journey was hard, but it was worthwhile. And the passion is correct because it's me, bro. There's no personality. Like, my life and my viewpoints are me. I live this life. So what I tell you to do, that's what I'm actually doing. And so, yeah, I think the parting advice is, if you love this job and you answer the question, what would I do tomorrow if I had to pick a living to do? And your answer is coaching, then that's the most important thing. Because if that's the answer, then you're going to do this shit for a long time, even when it's hard. Number two is find a community and find mentors now. Because the problem is that it took me 10 years, and I'm sure some of those years I like 2x'd what I was my growth. But in those years I 2x'd was when I found the right information at the right time. I could walk you into a room full of information right now, and it could be the best room full of information in the world, but just because it's there doesn't mean you're going to know how to use it, or it's at the right time for you to get it. Mm-hmm. So you have to put yourself in the position when you don't feel like it's the right time. You're not going to know. It's not going to be like, oh, it's the right time. It's like, if you get the action, bro, I want to pursue this, you better get in there. And so I provide opportunities for those people who have that feeling and go, I want to go to the moon. I'm like, that's all I care about doing to help you get there. Let's fucking go. So that's my parting words.
I love it, man. Where can people find you? I'll put it in the description, and we've talked about it a little bit already, but Instagram, website, et cetera.
Yeah. Instagram's Hunter Krein, my name. Website's Kettlebell Coach University. We're going to be in New York. If you want to meet Justin and get to hang out with us and feel what I've been talking about all day, New York's sold out, so you can't come to the actual thing, but you can come meet us for a bite to eat after. I'm sure Justin will share where with you. Then in May, we're going to be in Camp Savage in Arkansas to start. We have probably like 5 tickets left for that. Then we're going to be in Chicago. Tickets open on Monday for that. And then later in the year, we'll be in Seattle and Newport Beach. So it's a full year, man. We're getting ready for it. So
good deal, man.
On the road.
Yeah, good 2025. Hey, man, it's been awesome speaking with you, and I'm really excited to meet you in New York. First time in New York City, first time meeting you. It's gonna be a great time. So appreciate you coming on and having this discussion, man.
Oh, yeah, man, that's gonna be a life-changing trip for you, man. You never been to the Big Apple? You'd be like, you'd be walking around like, where the hell am I? So that's gonna be fire, man. I'm excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, man, it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Hell yeah. All right, I'll see you then, man.
All right, see you.